Welcome to Retirementals, a podcast that dives headfirst into the issues facing the financial sector at the intersection of investment, technology and financial advice. Hosted by Abraham Okusanya, you can expect raw honesty, critical analysis and energetic interviews. Here is your host, Abraham Okusanya.
Good afternoon, good morning, good day, wherever you are, and welcome again to Retirementals. I'm Abraham Okusanya, and I'm so delighted to have you on the podcast listening. And of course, I'm excited by my guest today. Paul Cleworth is the managing director and certified financial planner at Tandem Financial. I've known Paul for quite a number of years now, and his business never ceases to amaze me. So, Paul, welcome to Retirementals.
Thank you very much, Abraham. What a build-up, eh? Thank you. Very good.
I definitely mean that. Or we could talk about, I don't know, Christmas. You know, we're recording this on the 2nd of December, and the lights in the neighborhood, the Christmas lights are up and all that. And I am very excited about Christmas. We could talk about that, or we could talk about you.
Well, I'm happy to talk about whatever you'd like. I know my children were very happy this morning to open up their advent calendars and get more chocolates. So, and my wife's now panicking about Christmas presents and Christmas lists. So lots going on here, feeling a little bit festive. And thankfully it's now December rather than Christmas music in October. Whatever you want to talk about. I quite enjoy Christmas.
We won't talk too much about that. Look, Paul, I really mean that. I'm excited to have you on the podcast. So I think for the purpose of our listeners, what would be great is if you tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us a little bit about the business, and then
Sure.
we can take it from there.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Paul Cleworth. I'm the managing director and sole advisor at Tandem Financial. Tandem's been going now for 6.5 years, since May 2016. It was born out of me wanting to do what I do best, which is financial advice, speaking to clients, and the thing that I enjoy the most. And it was trying to do it in a way that was more in keeping with my values and how I like to do things. So having been an advisor for 22 years now, I've been around them a little bit, but I really enjoy what I do, and Tandem's going from strength to strength. So it's just onwards and upwards. I'm only 46, so I do hopefully have quite a few more years in me yet. And luckily, as I say, I enjoy my job. So.
Cool stuff. So I met you probably about a decade ago in your former business that you were part of before you venture out on your own. You're a partner and owner and co-owner in that business, and then you've ventured out on your own. And today, so give us a sense of where the business is. What, a 125, 130 million of assets. Tell us about the client. Give me a sense of revenue. I was so saying to you before the call, before we went live, that we're all financial. When I talk to financial planner, I always ask them about their numbers, and these are financial people, and they're like, I don't want to say AUM or revenue or profit, and I'm like, okay, I just want to know if you're happy to share. If not, that's totally fine.
No, I'll tell you all the numbers. I think it's interesting for me to understand what other people do. I am interested in what other firms are doing and what their numbers are. So here are mine. So we are 3.5 staff, if you like, at the moment. Myself, Kevin, my paraplanner of 14 and a bit years, Catherine for 3.5 years. She's our client services manager, and then my wife, who's, I say the half, which sounds terrible, but she does the accounts and the books and that sort of thing. So we have an outsourced mortgage advisor, mortgage broker, and an affiliate mortgage broker and an affiliate will writer. So I don't employ them fully. We are looking for a new member of staff at the moment. So I've got my cast my net with a couple of recruitment agents to try and find another client services administrator, but 3.5 staff essentially. When Tandem started, we had about 44 million of assets, and now it's around about 120, 121. It has been ever so slightly higher, and every financial planning firm, I'm sure, knows this, that over the last 10, 11 months, they probably saw a peak at the end of last year, and then it's come down and come back up again. It's been a bit choppy since. So about 120 million of assets that we manage. And we've just completed our accounts to the end of March 2022, and our turnover is 1.18 million. Recurring revenue is about 90%, 92%. There's 375 total clients. So that's, again, me as a one advisor firm looking after those, but we put them in groups in families, and so there's 215 client families. Not every client has got, wife and 2 kids on the books with us, but we do have some that are 5, 6, some that are single. So it's 215 client families. The average per client family is about 640,000 of assets that we manage, and I will do 80 to 85 client meetings a year. The rest of it, and they're not all face-to-face, some of them are Teams and Zoom, but I'm trying to do more face-to-face. I much prefer it. So don't do a lot of transactional work. We do mostly the simple stuff, pension savings, investments, and obviously proper financial planning and tax planning with our clients.
First of all, let's hope that Alison, your wife, is not listening to this podcast. You're referring to as let's hope that.
No, she's definitely, she's my better half. Put it that way. She's my better half.
I like that. Okay, good stuff. And but these are, incredible numbers. So first, the one that hit me is, as a solo advisor, you were keen to emphasize that as a solo advisor, turning over, 1.2 million a year. That is just insane. That will put you in the top probably 0.5%, if not 0.1% of advisor, revenue per advisor. And for the uninitiated, the figure is actually published by the FCA. It's something like £160,000 revenue per advisor. It doesn't seem to change massively. It actually falls, as the firm get bigger and you introduce layers and layers of management. But no, that is incredible, isn't it?
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's what you compare yourself to. I'm not really that concerned about, in any way, about comparing myself to what other advisors are doing themselves. I just want to do the best that I can do. And if you're running a successful firm, if you're happy with what you're doing, if you've got great clients and you're keeping them happy, it comes down to efficiencies. I'm very big on efficiencies and how can I do things more efficiently. But I don't have aspirations to sort of get to a certain level of assets under management. I don't want to grow the firm to the point where we've got 20 staff. It's much more of a lifestyle business. I just happen to have some pretty nice clients, and they have some decent assets. And so our sweet spot, if you like, I think is sort of 1 to 3 million clients with that sort of level of assets. That's what I like dealing with, and ones that want to essentially delegate their finances to a large extent to us and say, just you do it, get on with it. But you can add a lot of value to clients in that range with the tax planning alone and the strategy. So that's the best thing that I enjoy.
It's too early in the podcast, Paul, for me to fight you. but I'm going to do it anyway. I have to be honest, I really have a problem with, this idea, this framework, when planners, especially the good ones, right? They say to me, we've got a great, solo advice practice. I don't really want to build it, to scale it, to 20. And I'm like, why? Why not? If you've got a great business that is delivering value to clients, why wouldn't you want to scale it? Why wouldn't you want to grow? I mean,
I can answer that. I can answer that question for you. I think that perhaps that at my previous firm, where there were more staff, maybe there was about 12, 13 at the time, I felt that I was wearing too many hats, and I was just too busy, doing too many things. And I was always sort of had the opinion for a number of years previously, and you'd ask people, and you think about, setting up on your own and doing it your own way and thinking, can I do it better? Can I do it in a way that I'm happier doing it? And a lot of people will lead you to believe that you can't do it on your own, or that there's too much work, or that you'll be doing even more work. And that's just not true. You can outsource these days, as you very well know. So our compliance, our marketing, our communications, a lot of our IT, it's outsourced. Mortgages, wills, they're outsourced. What do we do in house? We do what we're good at. We do financial planning. We use the platform of choice being Transact. We have 90% of the assets on there, if not more. And we build relationships with clients. And so it's not as if I'm not looking for new business. I love taking on new clients. It's the challenge of it. It makes everybody's different, and it's fresh, and it makes it fun. And it's the lifeblood of building a company, taking on new clients. But the issue that you get is it's the toss up when you build to a business where it's profitable, it's generating good revenue, good recurring revenue. It's a question of, do I want to take on lots more staff and scale it dramatically? And if so, why? Is it for more money? Is it because it shouldn't be all about that. I want to keep my existing staff happy, and I want to have a good lifestyle. And obviously I want to keep my existing clients, with us. And as some get older and move off, or they go into drawdown and they take the money off, you've got to replace that if you want to keep moving forward. So plus, I don't have room in my barn, which is now our head office, for 20 more people. So I really don't want to manage lots and lots of people. And it's I know some people in my position would go the other way and rent a big office and say, right, get lots of advisors and just say, you do it. And that's just not the way I want to go. So horses for courses.
Yeah. All right, I'll stop fighting you. Cool stuff. So talk to me about the client proposition. One of the things you've always done incredibly well, it comes out in your marketing. Your marketing is brilliant, by the way. We'll come back to that, and maybe we'll get to it as part of this conversation. But I want to get to this idea of value, your proposition to clients. One of these things you've always done really well is, focusing not on the money, or even the planning as such, but on the life that the clients want to create. You've got all these, really interesting stuff about, bucket list that, things that people want to do. They want to check off their list. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So I think it comes down to being a people person and enjoying that part of the job. If you see a new client and all you're thinking about from the get-go is, what can I sell them? What assets do they have? What can I transfer? What can I make from them? And you're not interested in the client, they see through that very quickly, I think. So there is definitely a point where, for new referrals, I get lots of referrals from existing clients. All of our business for 6 years has been referrals. There's no marketing insofar as there's no paid marketing with unbiased to vouch for, or trying to source leads from a company. They don't do any of that. It's all referral. But I'm batting away a lot of referrals because there's not a good fit. And I prefer to have the fit be right first. So what does that mean? It means that I like them and they like me, that there's a good fit between what we offer, which is holistic financial planning, and what the client wants. Do they want a full review, or do they want to just have you do part of the job? If it's just the husband and not the wife, I'm not interested. We want to work with the couple, with the family. And so I will establish on a phone call, or even an initial Teams chat sometimes, for 20 minutes, whether the client has got the right circumstances in terms of what they do, what they earn, and the assets that they have. And although it's quite crass talking about levels of assets that they have, the reality is that I won't see them if they lovely people, but they've got 50,000 to invest. I'll say, look, we're not the right firm for you. What I'd have to charge you wouldn't be worth the while for you. And I'd point them in the direction of perhaps Vanguard Investor Online or something, to do it themselves. But if a client does have complicated circumstances, so they've got lots of pensions and assets and protection policies and properties and so forth, and especially if they run a business or if they're a professional, I love working with clients like that. And so you get them in, and then my job is to ultimately try and simplify things for them. I think that we forget that a lot of advisors, in my opinion, talk about how qualified they are, how great they are, what they can do, and forget to ask quality questions to the client, to have them unload what their objectives are and what their feelings are. So I will talk to them about the end goal, like perhaps all financial planners do, and work it backwards. But I much prefer to work on the relationship. And I gesticulate and I try to make jokes and try to use my personality. And some will joke that I don't have one, but Nick Lincoln, for example. But what I will try and do is have fun with the client and then jump from the serious to a bit of comedy and get them talking and get them thinking. And I will show them visual aids and I'll show them PowerPoint presentations and I will ask them questions. And it's this notion that the clients maybe understand 10% of what you're saying, but they take on about 90% of your body language. If at the end of the meeting, being a salesman, ultimately, I can have the client agree that there's a good fit between us, if that's the case, it's about how can I most efficiently take on board this client, do the job of producing a financial report that is easy and it's intelligible, that's easy to read and understand, and then the client can sort of take action. So, what you don't do is give a client eight options. You give them 2 or 3 and you help guide their decision. It's about bringing them to a decision and closing them on something and helping them make a good decision with their money. So I just think we've got that process down to a T. And once you've taken the client on, it's then the case of how can I keep them happy? How can I be different? Not necessarily, write a totally different report every year, but to sort of incorporate another aspect of financial planning or talk to them about their mindset or well-being, or maybe it's this time about estate planning and because you can't do it all in day one, as much as you'd like to, and you put a big list of recommendations, and some clients follow them all, they do, but rarely can you cover everything in one report. There's just new things that happen in their lives. So yeah, we developed the 2 websites, the Tandem Financial for, this is the obviously about finance in itself and the relationship, and then Planning Your Adventure as a second sister website, if you like, to talk about, where you would aspire to get to when you achieve financial independence, things that you want to do. So it's about inspiring the client to do something with their life and have a purpose and have a meaning and enjoy it as much as possible.
And the Planning Your Adventure website, is that to talk to existing clients? Is it meant to attract new ones? How does that work in your mind?
Yeah, so it's I think it's a combination. What we do when we've just redone our website, the tandemfinancial.co.uk, on the home page as you scroll down, there is a link from there directly to the Planning Your Adventure site. So planningyouradventure.co.uk is not a separate company. It's not really a separate brand. Planning Your Adventure is actually the strapline of Tandem Financial. So on the brand, it says Tandem Planning Your Adventure. That's our sort of 3-word catchphrase, if you like. And so we decided to have the Tandem website, Tandem Financial, and then Planning Your Adventure as a second site. I will talk to clients in the first, when I've had a chat with them on the phone, if I'm going to book them in for a first meeting, we have a process where we'll send the client an email, of course, with a fact find. They do a risk questionnaire, and I will guide them to have a look at our websites and say, have a look, have a quick nosy. Sometimes it's usually before the first meeting, so when they come in, they might have had a look. If they've had a look, fine. If they've not, which is often the case as well, I might refer to it as part of the discussion with the client and say, did you know we've got this other site? Have a look on there. There's 350 articles you can read. There's ideas, there's inspiration. And it's about whether it's relevant at the time. If a client's, dead keen on sorting their pensions out, or they need protection, or they need a plan or strategy, or they need someone to tidy up what they have, the focus will be on that initially. And then as we have meetings down the line, I might bring in the discussion about Planning Your Adventure. So we have, 2 core agendas for clients and 2 core PowerPoint presentations for a meeting. One's pre-retirement, one's post-retirement, and the wording's slightly different. But the core aspects of it are usually quite similar. The areas of finance that you'll discuss, you might say, well, you're good at these areas. Let's focus on this one. And let's talk about, do you want to speak about estate planning and wills and LPAs and stuff? So I'll gauge that before the meeting, elaborate on it in the meeting, and follow it up by sending them some useful a video I want them to watch on our site, direct them to an article we've written, and say, have a look at this. And it's not trying to dictate what the client has to do. It's just trying to give them ideas and try to inspire them and have them think about the issue. And they talk to you all the time about, if you ask the question about what they want to do, what things interest you, what brings you joy and fulfillment. Clients talks about going on holiday a lot. And so you ask the question, when was the last holiday? When did you last go? And then they go, I haven't been for a while. Big COVID, pandemic. And what I'm trying to do is have them make a decision and plan it out and do something. And the more you can do that and have the client take action and understand what's important to them, the rest of it becomes easy. The finance part, the sort of the planning part, that just becomes secondary. It shouldn't be, for me, the motivation of, look how clever I am, look at this very complicated tax planning, give me credit for writing this amazing report and saving you this much tax. You should definitely explain those things to a client, but it shouldn't be the main focus. The relationship and what the client does and how they do it and what brings them joy and fulfillment should be a bigger part of it for me.
So, talk to me about your marketing. What do you do with them? You have a lot of marketing collateral. You have the website. You have hundreds of articles. I know you do a quarterly newsletter. Probably something monthly as well.
Yeah. So what we do is we send. We don't send. I know some firms send emails weekly, and I suppose if you're a massive firm and you've got a marketing department and you want to do that, that's fine. If you've got a massive client base, you have to have more touch points. What we found that worked for us is to have 6 emails a year minimum, go once every other month, go from Tandem about financial topics, and in between those, one from planning your adventure with articles that can inspire a client to do stuff that's, again, non-finance related. We'll still do the budget email or autumn statement or both. There's a Christmas email, and there might be an ad hoc one, as there was when we had this sort of Ukraine-Russia war invasion, and I sent an ad hoc email and try to address it straight away in the reassurance emails. But I find that if you send too many, they just get missed. They don't get read. We have a 60% open rate on our emails from MailChimp, which is quite good. And we thinned out the number of articles on our website when we changed over fairly recently, and we put on a few less, and we're trying to revolve those and make sure they're always up to speed. But there's videos, there's articles, there's one-page PDFs, and I'm just trying to do it in a way where I can appeal to people based on what they want to do. Do they want to watch a video? Do they want to read an article? How can I make it visual? How can I make it easy to read on a phone, on a tablet? And I don't want to bombard them with too much.
I guess the question everyone on this podcast is asking is, who's your marketing agency?
Well, I'll tell you, because it says at the bottom of our website anyway. So I use Creative Advisor. I've got a lot of time for them. They're absolutely amazing, and I think they work with about 30 or 40 firms, and they're very, very selective. I'm pleased to say that lots of other firms have gone to them and said, "Can you do me? Can you do me a site like Tandem's?" And they say, "We could, but we're not going to, because we're not going to just copy it for you. You have to do it afresh." And it's important that I've had that arrangement with them, and they think the same way I do, that you've got to be original and be yourself. So by all means, call Steve Hill up, Creative Advisor, if you want a great website, and see what he says, and he'll decide whether he wants to work with you. Like myself, they're very busy, and they've got a largely full client bank, if you like, so they're selective. And I think, to be honest, you have to be. You have to be selective when you get to a point within your career where you think, well, okay, what kind of client do I specialize in working with? Who do I enjoy working with? It's not just more. And I'll take on anybody. And I'll have an arm that I'll do everything. Because I don't want to be a jack of all trades. I'd rather do one thing well rather than do everything poorly.
It's interesting because the last time I asked you that question, I think what you said to me was, "Oh, I don't like telling people my marketing agency because I don't want other
Yeah, but they put it on the bottom of the website so people could find out, couldn't they? So, yeah.
Good stuff. So you outsource other things in the business, right? As you referred to earlier on. So tell me, what else do you outsource? You don't need necessarily to tell who you outsource them to.
No, okay. So we, as I say, things like mortgages, wills, they're outsourced. We don't get a lot of inquiries for DB transfers and that sort of thing. I don't have the permissions for that, so I don't do them. But in terms of aspects of running the business, we outsource compliance. And I have 2 companies actually that help me. One that does the audit every year, and I get to look on their online website and get the newsletters and stuff like that. But I have a chap that I've been using for a long, long time since I started at Tandem, and I've known him nearly 20 years. And he comes in 4 times a year, helps me with my sort of Connect, Gabriel, RMAR reports, and does all of the file reviews, that sort of thing. And together, we can just get it all done, get it all, all of the things done in line. If you were to start off with a new firm and you needed to put together your compliance folder with every document you could need, wow, it takes a lot of effort. It's just huge amounts of effort, and somebody's got to be on the ball, updating them, reviewing them. Now, that's partly the reason I outsource it and get a guy in, but it's not a full-time position for us. I think some firms think that they need a full-time marketeer in-house and they need a full-time compliance person in-house. If you're a big enough firm, you probably do. But for me, it's not. We're not there yet. We've got enough. We can outsource, and it's cheaper to do that. And you buy in the expertise. So in-house, we'll do the financial planning and the power planning and all the admin in-house. So the only things I outsource essentially are the compliance and the marketing. We have an outsourced IT company as well, but the chap who runs it's a very good friend of mine, and I've known him a long time. So yes, the telephones and IT, that's sort of outsourced as well. But it's I don't outsource power planning and my admin support elsewhere. So it's all in the office.
So talk to me about the investment philosophy, the investment process, what you do around that side of.
Yeah. I remember when I was chatting to you when I was setting up Tandem, and I had this idea that we could use the UK national parks, selective ones, to replicate our 7 risk profiles. And we went with these 7 risk profiles because it sort of went hand in hand with the way that Phenometrica did it, and they opted out. So I thought, okay, we'll have the 7. I know some firms have 5, some have 10, and some have even more. But we thought, okay, we'll have the 7. What can I name them? And when we started off, we ended up giving them 2 names. 1, the name of a national park, and 2, the name of the risk profile itself. So we had defensive at the bottom end, and we had speculative at the top. And we've recently got rid of all of those names from moderate, confident, adventurous. Got rid of all of them, and now it's just still the name of the park. So it's the bottom one is the Broads, and the top one is Cairngorms, and there are ones in between. And with the topography of the land, the more volatile, the more. So it's as other financial planners would say, it's not about risk, it's about volatility. And so all of our models are passive and index funds. I'm all about low cost and passive and index, similar to yourself with Timeline. But I wanted to retain the identity of what we do, and it's part of our branding. So Trails, Tandem Risk Assessed Investment Levels. It is an acronym. It sort of works for me because, of course, if you're going on a hiking trail, it's about paths and journeys and movements. So it sort of all worked well to explain the journey with the client. But the underlying funds, there's 10 of them. They're largely Dimensional and Vanguard. So it's not revolutionary, but what it is trying to do is to help the client understand what the differences are between them, and to identify which one they're in when we speak to them, and sort of say, should we change that profile? Is there a reason to move up or down the risk spectrum? And as the years have gone by, I sort of wished to an extent that I'd had just one profile. It's like, you're all going into this one. That would be even easier, To have more and is a bit harder work, but then again, it's just, you could do that with a new firm. Now changing all of the models back to one is a lot of hard work. And say, right, you're all going into 100% equities, that's it. That's just tricky to do, so we're not going to do that anytime soon.
Where do people sort of tend? Do they tend towards the higher equity portfolio, or in the middle?
Well, it's a cliche almost, because with the standard deviation bell curve, and you do a Phenometrica report, it's almost as if with these 25 psychometric questions and then a further discussion with myself, that lots of clients land in the middle somewhere. So moderate, perhaps no surprises, which is actually called Peak District, is in the middle, and it's the one that's the most popular. The next one up, Northumberland, which is our sort of 70-30 split, and that's what we now name them. It's the name of the park plus the equity bond split. So if you're in the middle one, Peak District, you're 60-40 equity bond. But I think that given the experience we've had over the last sort of 12 months, and just through further research and my thought process, having taken on some of the wisdom of Nick Murray, I think what I do is have them do the risk questionnaire, discuss it with them, and show them the differences, the past return, the potential return, talk about volatility, and then if anything, I'll be probably encouraging them up the risk spectrum more to include more equities, if it's appropriate for them, and possibly to counter that if need be, to just to top up cash a little bit. So I think that a lot of people that are in their 30s and 40s that end up in moderate because it's default, because they think, oh, I don't know, I'll go in the middle, and it's a lazy choice. Especially if they're pound cost averaging lots of regular premiums, they can absolutely afford to be much higher up on the risk spectrum and go to even Cairngorms, which is 100% equities. It's only 6 funds, but it's 12,500 stock and bond holdings. And when you're holding your assets, as per market cap, globally invested, what's the risk really? You've got obviously equity risk, and you've got, stock market risk and systemic risk and all of this. However, it's just volatility risk, short-term declines, long-term gain. It's just why at that age own too much in bonds? It doesn't make any sense. So it's hard to have that discussion sometimes with clients, but it's where my focus has gone, and I'm we always discuss it. Risk, it's the first thing on the agenda, isn't it? Risk profile, it always is.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And look, I'm gonna give you a live sales speech. I was stopping myself so much from doing it, but you kind of stuck your head in it. So here goes. Right, like I
I have
said
to go now. Sorry, I'm signing off now. Yeah, I'm going.
but like I said to you, you can still keep your trails, your portfolio nomenclature, and timeline will manage it for you. What we would bring to the process is three things.
Yeah.
Hang on, is institutional share class, which means the cost will be lower or about the same once you introduce our own costs to it. Technology, and will absent all the administration and the management. You keep your brand and everything, right?
Well, I have not in any way discounted that at all. I've not explored it enough. I think you're wonderful, Abraham, and I'm going to look at Timeline more. So just for all the people listening, if there's anyone listening, actually more than one person, or watching, then yes, talk to Abraham about Timeline. I'm going to do the same.
that thank you for saying that, but that's by the way. Actually, the other thing that you brought in this conversation is this thing about risk profiling and getting people more towards equity investing, right? Which we all know intuitively, based on data, that that's the right thing for most people. Where I agree with you and I disagree with some of the things going around in our space is like this idea that I'm just going to have one portfolio. Everybody that comes through the door is going to end up in that portfolio.
Yeah.
I am not going to do risk profiling. And I'm like, no, because as you know, right, this profession, you've proven that this profession is an incredible one that you can do good by clients and be profitable and make a lot of money. There ain't nothing wrong with that in my view. There is no reason to basically lose your shirt from a regulatory point of view by this kind of sounds to me like 1980s 1990s type framework. There's no reason to do that. I totally agree with you that I would do the risk profile. I will go a step I will show them the range of return, but I will go a step further than that. And again, it's possible because I have the technology known as Timeline. I will show them their plan, all their goals, everything built in with a 50-50 portfolio, which will show use 100 years of data, and it will show that they're likely going to run out of money, or maybe if they don't run out, it might be quite tough, or show them what the legacy is. And then I'll show them 80 portfolio and 100 portfolio. And you have a conversation with people and you come to what I would call informed consent, which is what you're doing, by the way. I'm just doing it in a slightly different way. And I think it's our job. It's obligation as a professional to have this robust conversation with
Yes,
clients and
absolutely.
try to get them to the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of you feel partly handcuffed to an extent by the regulatory framework and the legacy of what's happened in the country
Mm,
over the last
mm,
20
mm.
years plus. Um, I think that it comes down as well to sort of perception of value, right? You've got to be a really good either a really good salesman, or very pushy to encourage every single one of your clients to all shoehorn them into the same portfolio. So if you've got 7 options and you're helping guide the client's decision, the old adage, people don't like to be sold to, but they love to buy. So what do you got to do? You've got to sort of say, well, this scenario, this is why this is appropriate for you. This whole notion of suitability, of course, it's very relevant. But yeah, I think it's putting a bit of meat on the bone of giving them the expected return, because you've got to bring people down to earth when they've bought something in the past, a direct share or crypto or something, and they've made a lot of money and said, well, hang on, that's speculating, that's not investing. You've got a lot of money, £1 million plus. Let's do it in a sensible way. How can I protect your assets, protect your investments to give you a reasonable rate of return? To factoring in cost and inflation. And I would guide them towards probably a higher equity component. And yeah, the more that you can show them to demonstrate that and put it into perspective, that works really well. And the way that we do it at the moment is to show them the past sort of 10 years, the past 20 years, and show them the volatility, but ultimately the difference in what £1 becomes over that period of time, and then engage in their brain, or reaffirm in their mind this notion of investing doesn't mean 5 years; it means 10 years plus, and long term you'll make money. Capital markets work, long term markets go up, and what I would always do, and I'm surprised that a lot of firms seem to not want to do this, is to encourage regular premiums and have a systems in place where you can encourage the clients to put money in lump sums to top up ISAs and pensions. Because I think that's a big part of the job, to help them make that decision, and not just to think about it once when you first meet them and they transfer a few plans and you set up a few regulars, but to review those regulars, to top them up and to top up their plans. And by doing that over time, their growth of wealth, their value over time graph goes up, because A, markets are going up, but B, they're putting money in. So I always say to all of my clients, very simply, if you want to make wealth, if you want to build wealth, if you want to make money, it's 3 things. It's regular premiums and lump sums. You have to put money in, number 1. Number 2, it's time in the markets, not timing the markets. And 3 is the discipline. It's just keeping it going no matter what. So some of the best clients that I have, where I've built the rapport, is they've just sort of asked me, what risk profile should I go in? And I'm going, just go in Cairngorms, 100%
That one.
equities. And we don't spend too much talking about it, because you can over talk it and you can panic the client. So the best clients are the ones that just do as they're told, quite frankly. And should I put more in, Paul? Yeah, you should. Yeah. And I'm not saying that so that we can make more money. It's because it's the right thing to do, because they can afford to. So yeah, it's reality is most clients, they need the discussion, and of course you need to explain the pros and cons of it all. But I'm all for a higher equity content for the majority of clients, especially in today's market, where with bond prices having done what they've done. Now, I wish I'd done it obviously 2 years ago. But yeah, you've got a legacy of clients, and a very typical moderate average client will still have an element of bonds, whether it's, I think ours was about 30%, 30, 70, 30 average overall. So that's why we've seen a decline in models in our assets under management over the last 12 months, especially. But we're maintaining the value because we're doing new business and put money in. So it's, this is where you come into your own, isn't it?
I mean, from a point of view of you can't complain so much. You've trebled the AUM and assets and
Yeah.
revenue, of course, over the last 6 years, odd years, with the same team, right? With
Yeah,
the
it's
same
it's it's
headcount.
it's hard to believe, thinking back, how you think, how have I done that? I mean, we've had a bit of help with markets, but I look at the very simply at the number of new clients that I expected to get, to what I've got, what the average client is, and you do have to segment clients, and you do have to decide who you're going to work with, what types of client do you specialize in. If you think narrow and deep, and you actually ask for the right type of client, you ask for referrals, and you do an awesome job, you get referrals. It's the truth. Most of mine, they come through without asking. And clients of mine will refer tandem, not just me, but the tandem, because it's a team effort. It's a relationship they're getting from all all of us, myself, Catherine, and Kevin, they all work with all three of us. They get in that sort of trifecta of financial planning. But I don't pawn them off to another advisor for one. But yeah, I was just going to say that I work with all the clients, and over 6.5 years of building up the assets, we've got more clients that have got bigger assets, and I've encouraged more of them to put more money in. And just it's the riding the wave, it's the exponential curve, and it's not something that you can get at the very early point of your career, because it takes time to build up a client base and build relationships and build contacts. So anybody that's a newer advisor, and I've spoke to some recently that have got in touch with me because I've done a couple of PFS Powers and other webinars, and they've asked me, and I'm more than happy to have a chat with them. And it's a starting process, but it's not limiting your beliefs and not thinking, I need to take on this client because I might not get another. I've got a referral for 200,000. You've got to know when to say no. You've got to know when to segment, when to sell some clients, if need be, move them to another firm, and to focus on what you're good at and do that. I get clients asking me to do things, and I say I don't do that. Paul, I want to buy some crypto, or I want to buy some direct shares. Okay, go and do it yourself. And it's not said in that way exactly, of course, but if a client gives you a scenario which you're not familiar with and you're not good at, just don't take them on. I'm on an IFA forum where lots of people are posting, I've got this scenario, I've got this complexity, and they're not an expert in that area, and yet they're taking on a client where they've got all these problems, and they're going to drop all their other clients and business on to say, well, let me spend a week on this one. And I'm like, well, no wonder you're not making money or profitable, because you're just inefficient. Do all the simple stuff. Keep it. So there's no shame in just doing simple stuff. You can still be profitable and do an awesome job.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So you're a spring chicken still, very much, right? You're
46.
You're
Yes.
37, 36.
Yeah, that's the camera lens. Yeah, I'm probably I've not got makeup on, no, but I try to keep young, Abraham, put it that way. But no, I'm 46, and been an advisor 22 years, so since mid-20s. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've done incredibly well. There is still life in this dog yet. Yeah. Right.
Are you going to ask me what the future holds?
Where do you take this? Easily this gets to 250 million just yourself. Does it get to $500 million just with you? How do you get there?
I think what will happen, and it's a question I've been asking myself a lot recently, because speaking to the staff, we're probably at 85% capacity, which is why I'm requesting, I'm looking to take another staff member on. But I think it's either a question of actually new staff member first, and then maybe another power planner. And I think that as a sole advisor, I've obviously got various risks involved in being a sole advisor firm. So I may take on a trainee advisor or actually a full-time advisor in the future. Those things are open to me. I'm not desperate to do it, and I don't personally think, okay, I need to map out the next 5-10 years of my life. I'm perfectly happy with small tweaks to the business as it is at the moment, as long as no one's feeling pressured or overrun or just run ragged. The clients, if plates were stopping spinning, or if people weren't getting emails back or calls, I'd be concerned. So it's I don't envisage $500 million of assets for one client. I mean, that would be good for one advisor. I think if money was the sole focus and I had very rich footballer clients, maybe you could get there. But I think or businessmen, for example. But no, it's more of the same. It's maybe we as a business expand a little bit with more staff. I don't want to move anytime soon from my nice barn where we've developed.
You'd have to build a new barn.
Build another barn, but add an add-on, and just cram people in or move to someone else. So I don't know. It's not something I'd rather think what's happening the next 24 months. I think I can see that far. Anything much further than that, I'm not so worried. But I do plan to be an advisor for the next 10 years plus, because I enjoy it. And my kids are only young; they're only 7 and 11. So I don't know what I'd do with myself if I was if I was not an advisor. And you sell up, you make loads of money, great. But actually, I've got a big responsibility to not only my staff but also to my clients, to look after them for this period of time. And if I was ever going to move on, I would give plenty of notice, or merge with another firm or something. But it's again, it's just thinking up ideas as they come. It's exploring options, but ultimately, we're quite happy doing what we're doing at the moment.
Thinking of selling up, moving up, eventually, this happens. This will happen whether you like it or not. I'm sure you know
Yeah.
that is. Do you worry about the fact that you've created a successful problem for yourself, in the sense that you are the linchpin of the client relationship? It's you they know, it's you they buy into the team, don't get me wrong, but you're a solo advisor and
Yeah.
directly responsible. When that time comes to move
Yeah.
on, merge with another client or sell or whatever, do you worry about the client being able to build a relationship with a new advisor?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's an obvious one really when you speak to any solo advisor firm. But I think that in the short term, as I say, I'm not particularly looking at it in too much detail or worrying about it. I mean, when you think about the responsibility that any advisor that manages a lot of assets has, it can make you not sleep well at night. And I think about it a lot, reflect on these things and say, oh, I am quite it's an important cog in this wheel. But it's something that, as I say, doesn't massively concern me at the moment. If I was to move on in the future and merge with another firm or whatever, I would just do it gradually over 2 or 3 or 4 years and carry on introducing, the clients to another firm and making sure that they had the same investment proposition, the same platforms that they would use, and importantly, the same culture. Because it's more important to me that I do my job well. I know it sounds corny, but this notion of integrity, absolute honesty and integrity. I know that I have, we all have emails come in every day. For me, if I don't reply to one within 24 to 48 hours, I'll feel concerned, I'll feel worried, I'll feel like I'm not doing my job. So I'll either do it myself or send a holding email and say I've received it, I'll respond on this day, or I'll delegate it to one of the staff to respond. But we don't get the phone ringing off the hook, and we don't get 700 emails every day. So we're getting through them, and it's we if a client calls, we'll call back within 24 hours. That's what we try to do. An email within 48. And I think that I can sleep very well at night knowing that I'm doing my job and I'm doing the best that I can. And you've got to be thinking all the time. Well, this is what I think. How am I adding value? Have I called that client recently? Have I just called them up to ask them if they're okay, or is there anything I can do for them? And that's my plan now, to actually say, how can I engage more with my existing clients? Not just how can I take on loads more and make more money. That's the wrong focus. Certainly for me it is. And by focusing on the client relationship and doing a great job, we'll be successful and continue to be successful. And that has worked well for me for the last 6.5 years. So I'd like to think I'm doing a few things right. And so, yeah, small tweaks, don't overthink it.
Incredible stuff. Paul, thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for being an inspiration to all of us. Thank you.
Thanks, Abraham. Speak again. Take care.
I'll be remiss if I don't thank my incredible team who worked very hard to put this program together. Thank you very much, guys. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Timeline Retirement Planning Software, and PyTech, low-cost flat-fee model portfolio manager. And to you, our listeners, thank you for your time. I hope you've had as much fun listening to the program as we have making it. You can find more about the show at retirementals.co.uk, and you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is Abraham on Money. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.